Welcome, everybody. Glad you could join us. I'm Jesse Spencer-Smith, and I am Chief Data Scientist with the Data Science Institute. And in a moment, you're going to get to meet the rest of the data science team here at the Data Science Institute. And we're going to be talking today about projects that you can get involved with in the next semester. So these are projects that will be starting in January. So we'll be introducing the projects, giving you an outline of the projects. I'll be showing you the form that you'll be filling out to apply to participate in these projects. And one thing that I'll mention up front is a lot of these projects do use generative AI. So if you don't have a lot of experience with generative AI, that's fine. We do have what we call our winter AI. We have a winter AI and a summer AI. And in the winter AI, we go over some of the essentials that you'll need for this. You'll see that's actually one of the questions that we have in the questionnaire. But let's start with introductions from the team. So Charo, would you mind kicking us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Charo Bell. I'm a senior data scientist here at the DSI. I'm also the director of the undergraduate data science minor, which many of you are. So welcome, welcome. I've been with the team and doing projects for a while now. It's really fun and really great extracurricular and a great opportunity for immersive learning when it comes to data science and AI. If you are interested in potentially doing this as part of your data science minor program, you can do that, and you can use this as an independent study credit. But of course, we will need to discuss that if that's something you're interested in, and we'll let you know more about that. But great to meet everyone, and I hope to work with you.
Abby, let's go over to you.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a postdoc here at the DSI, so also been leading a few projects. We'll be doing one this semester that's a continuation of this previous semester, and then also we kind of started it 2 semesters ago. So I'm super excited to continue work on that, and yeah, maybe get some people on it, get some people excited about it too.
Umang, would you mind going next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Umang. I'm data scientist at the DSI, and I'm also an alum of the master's program as well as the undergraduate program here. And I've also been part of the DSI. I've been leading a lot of projects in the last couple of years. So very exciting projects this semester. So hoping to see some of you on those.
And Miranda.
Hi, I'm Miranda. I am a senior data scientist at the DSI. And I am also an alum of the DSI program from a couple of years ago. Before I joined here, I was a data scientist at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. I'm really happy to be back and start on some projects for next semester.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. So what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be describing the projects that we're going to be undertaking next semester. As some quick background, we take on research projects with researchers across the university every semester. And we take anywhere from 3 to 6 projects on each semester. And the way it works is this. We have a collaborator, and sometimes it's a researcher. Often it's a researcher and their team. And we define the project, and then we set up a goal so that we can work on a project and complete the project in 1 semester. The way we do this is that we have one of our staff data scientists that's involved in this, and then we also put together a team. And the team consists of individual contributors and others, technical lead, and also project manager that help make this project happen. So the team size is going to be anywhere from 3 to 6, and the roles that we have in there are individual contributor. That's someone who's acting as a data scientist and working together with the team to solve the problem, and you'll hear about the problems we're going to be taking on. The technical lead is a position that has more responsibility for the technical aspects of the project. This means that they'll be responsible for reviewing code that's submitted. It means that they may actually be a resource for the other team members. So they have a broader view of what's happening, probably have more expertise in the techniques, and then act as a lead to help others on the team. And then we also have project manager. And the project manager is in charge of making sure that the wheels turn on the project. So we follow a system that's called Agile Data Science. And what this really means is that we track the work that we will be planning on doing over the next week. We purposely get together, we take a look at how well we've done, what we've completed, what has not been completed, and then we plan again for the following week. And in addition, we're in regular contact and demonstrating the work that we're doing to our partners, to the researcher, and to each other as well. So it's a way for us to work together, and it's tied very closely to the software development as well. We'll have some training. We have training materials on Agile Data Science that you can view, and we'll also have a session to help you through. So if this is something that's brand new to you, so again, we'd love to have people who want to be on teams as contributing data scientists. We would love people who want to really stretch themselves, stretch their wings, and be a technical lead. We're also very interested in people who are interested in leading teams as the project manager to lead the Agile data science teams. So team, have I left anything else that is important before we go into the project descriptions? All right, then let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to show you a form that we'll be sharing with you. So we're going to share this form with you, and you'll have an opportunity to fill this out, but we're going to go through all of the information in here first. So we have information about the different projects here. And we're going to go in order of this, and I'll ask the leads for each of these to describe the project. And I'll leave this up here so you can see this, read it as the person describes. So Sharo, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that you are lead on the grant self-service expert assistant.
Yes, I am, and fantastic. So this project is actually a project that will benefit Vanderbilt directly, which is pretty exciting. As you know, Vanderbilt is an R1 research university, so we do lots of research. And because we do lots of research, we do great research. Our faculty have a lot of grants, and they also submit a lot of grants. And I don't know if you've ever seen a grant before, but they're long and they can be really challenging and time-consuming to create. So we don't want to put any other blockers in their way. We want to make this streamlined so they can get to the point and get it done. Well, to that point at Vanderbilt, there are offices and people who work to support our faculty members and our researchers in terms of getting those grants administratively worked on, answering questions about the documentation. And those people, of course, they are working on a lot of grants. So what this project is about supporting those people and supporting our researchers and enabling a platform that's going to leverage all of the documents that this office at Vanderbilt already has. And these include things like help desk tickets. So, people have questions about, hey, I need to know what grant I did at this time or this grant number. These come in the form of help desk tickets, and so we have data about that. And we're going to use data like those kind of data points in order to build an expert assistant. So I'm sure that you've seen the custom GPTs. It'll be something like that, but we will more likely implement this assistant using code, and very specifically because this is proprietary data. We will be using the enterprise version that we have here at Vanderbilt to keep all of the data secure. And again, this platform is really about researchers being able to come and ask questions interactively with this expert grant assistant and get their questions answered right off the bat. Harder questions will actually go to the support staff, and also the support staff will be able to use this documentation and search their own documentation in case they have questions. So good also for training. So it will be an interesting project. Again, looking for people who have background in Python with a preference for folks that have been on projects before, but also are interested in really committing to this project in the sense that this is something that really benefits our university and our study of science as a whole. So looking for that, and we'll be using lots of generative AI and doing lots of exploration. So excited about that.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is also a really good one because you learn about building production systems, like secure production systems. So if you're interested in like the kind of AI engineering, this one's great. All right, law and human nature. Cheryl, I think that you were going to sort of be the contact for this, but this one's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, this one is pretty cool. So as well. So I'm not sure if you know about this, but actually at Vanderbilt, they've started a new AI in the law program at the law school. And with that, we now have this opportunity to really explore the law by using generative AI. Okay, so there's a collaborator, a law professor at Vanderbilt, and he's really interested in studying like human nature. And that's really interesting when you think about the law, like what does the law have to do with human nature? Well, consider that, you know, there are cases that we see on TV or what have you, where perhaps if it's a criminal case or something like that, maybe someone like slays some other people because somebody, you know, stole their something or cheated on someone. When that happens, and generally in cases, what happens is the judges will write something about their decisions. And sometimes in those documents, they'll write things about like the judgments that they gave based on human nature. So what do I mean by that? They might say something like, you know, this person, you know, murdered or whatever this other person, but it's human nature to be jealous about that. And so in looking at all of these cases that are available to us, since they all mostly have to do with people, in doing that, we'll be able to explore where human nature shows up and what it means to judges from the perspective of the law whenever they're describing human nature in their writings. So it's going to be a very researchy moment. This is also going to be another platformy moment where we're trying to like create an actual deliverable. Here we'll also be using a lot of the same functionality that we had before, but this is targeted to be able to work on public systems instead of having to be on the internal systems at Vanderbilt. And we'll use things like RAG, custom GPTs. We'll take a lot of different approaches to try to resolve that because we do have that freedom. So if you're interested in the law, if you are wanting to work with legal documents, if you want to meet people that are involved with AI and the directors of AI and the VAIL program here at Vanderbilt, this is a great program for you and a great project for you. So this, again, will be in collaboration with the law school. And so you'll have lots of interaction with people who actually work with the law.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. So next project here is cleft palate ID. And Miranda, was this you?
Yes, this is me.
Okay, great.
Yes, so in this project, we will be working with Dr. Matthew Pontel, who is from the UMC, and I believe also a professor at Vanderbilt, to develop a model that can identify a specific type of speech impediment. So Dr. Pontel is a surgeon at Vanderbilt who corrects conditions such as cleft palate, in which someone's cleft palate needs to be surgically corrected in some way. You may have seen pictures of this before when people get, you know, a cleft palate surgery. And what this can sometimes cause is speech impediments that aren't resolved by the surgery itself. There may be some residual speech impediments where someone's having trouble speaking, and they want to figure out the reason for this. Sometimes someone has a learned speech impediment in which there's no deficiency with their mouth or their soft palate or their tongue or anything. They just have some sort of learned speech impediment, but some people still have lingering effects of the cleft palate or have something called a soft palate deficiency. So in this case, we're going to work with Dr. Pontel and recordings of patients speaking. And we want to develop a model that can take in those recordings and then output a prediction of if that person needs potential surgical intervention. So something that will look like taking in a bunch of different audio recordings, processing them, putting them through some sort of model, and then outputting whether that speech impediment is due to a soft palate deficiency or something else. And the purpose for this is to serve as an aid to speech pathologists who will normally be listening and interviewing patients and using some sort of tools, but this takes a lot of time. And so if we can go ahead and screen these patients so that they have a heads up for which patients are most likely to need further intervention methods, this will help them greatly. So we're actually working with several speech pathologists on this, and I'm very excited. So if you're interested in working with VUMC at all, if you're interested in speech pathology, or you just want to work with audio data, would love to have you on this team.
This project is especially cool because this is really opening up, this is an application of AI which really opens up resources to people in under-resourced areas. So this is in rural or countries without a lot of medical care, maybe not a lot of plastic surgeons who are capable of this. And so this is really a phone call. You make a phone call, you get diagnosed, and a medical team can be dispatched there, or you can be connected to a medical center. So this is a really cool application of AI, like directly to where it can be, where it's needed most. So very cool. So GRIP, gun-related injury prevention. Let's see who has GRIP?
That would be me. Yep.
Great.
So GRIP is a project that is being led by Dr. Krista Mehari and her team, and they're basically analyzing the strategies that are used across the United States to prevent any sort of gun violence, whether that be homicidal related or suicide related. But what they've found is that over 80% of homicides and over 60% of suicides involve some sort of firearm. And all of these cases of gun violence disproportionately affect certain groups of the population. So understanding the cultural gap in gun injury prevention strategies for high-risk subpopulation kind of involves analyzing the deep social and ecological factors that exist in this landscape. So what they've done is conducted over 250 hour to hour and a half long interviews with gun owners and people who live in high gun violence areas. And then they transcribed all of that text and they sort of analyzed it using a thematic coding manual. So basically, these interviews explored a very large variety of questions and topics surrounding gun violence. And then they created a coding manual with over 500 different codes to kind of classify what was being talked about. And all of these codes were based in some sort of theory. And so the project aims to basically use large language models with primarily in-context learning to identify which of the 500 codes could show up in a given section of the manuscript, which would help facilitate any analysis of the prevalent themes that exist surrounding this topic of gun violence. We'll also maybe use some form of RAG depending on which approach seems to work better, but the primary interest is seeing how we can work with in-context learning. And another concern is that some of this data is sort of patient protected, and we don't really want to use open source models, or at least put these interviews out into the public domain. So we might also be using the sort of enterprise version of ChatGPT to explore this, or use local models if that doesn't work well.
Great. Yeah, this one's is definitely, it's a good project, challenging project. Trying to classify things into 500 different categories is a truly challenging task. So this is pushing the boundaries of what's capable. So real contribution there. All right, and Umang, you also, I believe, we're going to be heading up the Medieval French project.
Yeah. So the Medieval French is a project that is being pursued with Dr. Lynn Ramey from the Department of French and Cinema and Media Arts. And the idea is that we want to be able to develop a large language model that is capable of understanding and producing text in a variety of different dialects of Medieval French. So we have access to lots of old documents, mostly poems and other forms of creative writing in various dialects of Medieval French from different parts of France. And what we found is that the existing state-of-the-art large language models like ChatGPT and Llama they work okay on this, but they were trained on mostly English and very small amounts of modern French. And while they're somewhat able to understand medieval French, they're definitely not capable of producing high quality texts specific to a certain dialect. So our goal is to work with open source large language models like Llama and train them on medieval French texts provided by Dr. Amy to create models that are capable of sort of English to medieval French and medieval French to English translation, as well as generation of new medieval French given some instructions in a specific dialect. And so we'll be focusing on fine-tuning large language models using parameter-efficient fine-tuning techniques like LoRa and QLoRa. So definitely looking for some good experience with deep learning, and even better if you kind of explored these parameter-efficient fine-tuning techniques.
And also I'll put out there, we're mentioning all the skill sets that we'd love to have for these different projects. Know that we do purposely put together teams with varying skill levels, right? So you might be someone who is a French speaker, or you have an interest in medieval French, could be, or you're just interested in languages, but you may not have as much background in the technical side, but you have some. That's fine. We're looking for people with complementary skills. We're also looking to create opportunities for people who don't have quite as much experience to gain more experience as well. So just because you may not have all this experience, don't think that doesn't mean you can't apply. Please do, because we'll be trying to put together teams that have complementary skills and different levels of skills as well, beginners and the very advanced on the same team. So there can be a lot of learning in the team as well. Fantastic. And Abby, you mentioned just a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about the LIGO project?
Yeah, so the LIGO project is aiming to learn on data from the LIGO detector. LIGO stands for the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory, which is really a series of detectors which are aiming to detect gravity wave signals. So as mass moves through space-time, gravity waves are generated, and typically these little ripples in space-time are like way too small to be detected. But if particularly the thing that is causing the ripple through space-time is two very massive objects like two black holes or neutron stars, then those ripples in space-time are actually strong enough for us to observe them here on Earth. So how LIGO works is it basically sits there, it's constantly waiting for some sort of ripple in space-time to pass through it, and it collects massive, massive amounts of data sitting there waiting for a signal. And so far, like 100 or so times in the whole time it's been running, has that little signal of a gravity wave pass through it. But the detecting of gravity waves is kind of like the thing in astrophysics right now. There's so many things that you can constrain about the universe, physics as we understand it, based on taking these signals, checking if they confirm that Einstein was right, seeing what the distribution of black holes in the universe is like, all of these really important science questions. So it's super fundamental to understand how gravity waves work. But right now, the process to get to that understanding is typically really long and hard. And as these detectors get more sensitive, we're about to have way more data and way more detections, and we need a much better way of understanding and processing that data, identifying these objects, saying what must have caused them, all of that stuff. So the goal of the project this semester was to kind of start with getting kind of the idea of running the data through audio transformers. So the signal that you get out of the LIGO detector is a frequency over time signal, which audio is a frequency over time signal. So this semester, we kind of began to use audio transformers on the data, but the continuation of the project into next semester is going to go towards building a foundational model to understand gravity waves. So I said we only have 100 detections, so that's not a lot, but we have like truly so much data that isn't just a gravity wave, like of everything, of noise, of Jesse loves the garbage truck that comes, right? Like that literally is in the data. So we want to train in a way that takes advantage of all of that data, trains a foundational model to understand LIGO detector data, and then hopefully that model could be applied to a huge variety of different applications eventually. So that's going to be the goal of this project in the upcoming semester.
Excellent. Thank you all. I'd like to open this up now for questions about any of the projects or questions about being part of a team or maybe being a technical lead or project manager. What questions do you have about the projects or being on projects? Feel free to put this into the chat or to unmute yourself and to ask your question. And I've lost my chat window. So if anybody asks on chat, please let me know. Well, I have a question for you, Abby. You've been doing this project for a number of semesters. Does someone who's not been on the project before even have a chance of getting on it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's like, especially this semester, we're a little bit shifting gears somewhat in the way that we're going to approach the project. The problem that we are going to tackle, the methods of training that we plan on doing in this upcoming semester are different than what we've done in previous semesters. So although we're kind of constantly building on the knowledge that we create, because there's sort of new goals that we tackle in new semesters, there's always kind of room to get up to speed and be a part of the project.
Great. Jimmy, let me ask you, which project are you interested in joining? And you may have been on your phone before. There you go.
Oh, hi. Yeah, sorry. No, I'm most interested in joining the cloth project probably with like speech impediments because I'm heavily interested in biomedical informatics. So the project sounds really cool to me.
Excellent. Very good.
Yeah.
Shaheen, which project are you interested in?
Wait, I'm interested in the law and human nature. For one. Well, I do not have any background of like any laws, but I'm interested in working on this, but yeah, that's
So good question, Shaheen. So Sharo, do you need to have a background in law to participate in the project?
So I love that question. And I wish that I could tell you the story about my last experience with like these lawyers that were, anyways, it was hilarious. I also have no experience with this, but this is the beauty really of data science and working on projects, which is that you get to combine your expertise and your learning as someone who is coding and using generative AI with your domain experts. So what will happen is our collaborator's name is Mark. Mark will share information about the law and he'll provide insights on what we're doing, even if we don't know it as well, particularly or at all at the beginning. And so with that, we grow a little bit more in terms of our understanding of the law, but we really, really depend on our domain experts to make sure that what we are doing is making sense within the domain. A second piece is that I see that someone asked a question about if someone doesn't meet the preferred requirements, does that mean they won't get into the project 100%? And I just wanted to reiterate something that Jesse said. Number one, like you could have like the best things ever. You could like, I don't know, have written the Transformers API. Okay, you would get it. But even with those things, we are also looking for team members. So people that we want to work with, people who care about the quality of the work that they present, people that are reliable and that will come to meetings, people who will work with us, people who are friendly, people who are interested in generative AI and what we are trying to do. So all of those things really come together. Something about applications that people don't really know is people will read like the free response sections. And whenever we're reviewing when we're reviewing these applications, we certainly read that. If you just make an argument for yourself. Make an argument for yourself. If you don't have all of the best qualifications known to man, make an argument. And I know I, in particular, I'm moved by those kinds of arguments. So when you apply, do put your best foot forward and give us the opportunity to know you through your application.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially when we have multiple people that may not have as much skill as other people. If someone says, well, but I'm passionate about this, because of the following, they're like, well, then yes, because you'll probably put a lot more into the project. So yes, come and join us for the project. So share whatever you would like to, because we want to learn about what your interests are. This form is going to be released. I think we're going to email everybody right after this. Miguel, if you're still on, if we could get the email addresses of everybody who's registered, that would be great. And so you'll have an opportunity to fill this out. It's going to be due on the 15th. So that's when this form will be due.
And there's another. Oh, sorry. I was just going to point out another question in the chat. All right, there's one that's: are technical programming qualifications the same for code contributors versus project managers?
Ooh, no. As a matter of fact, you can be a project manager and not really have any technical background. So, just think about, so there's a study that Google did about 7 years ago now, maybe even 8 years ago now, where they looked to see who made the best project managers for them. They thought that it was going to be the most technically advanced people. And that was not the case. As a matter of fact, it was almost the flip. So if you're interested in team dynamics, if you're interested in thinking about whole projects and figuring out how to make sure that things move forward, you like to tick and tie everything, because there's a board. If you like to clear the board, got all that stuff done and moved on to the next, project management is for you. At the same time, you can learn about the projects and you can learn about generative AI. So it's not that you don't learn about it. It's just that those are not the same skills that you're going to be using for this. So we have people who have no technical background, but, were project managers. We have people who, didn't have technical background, were project managers, and then came back and were individual contributors. And we have the other way. They were individual contributors, they were technical leads, and then they became project managers so they could get the full sweep of experiences. So all of that is possible. And Jenna, you asked, for the projects require experience with reading and utilizing APIs. Are there any recommendations for building that knowledge experience prior to applying to a project? Okay, here's the cool thing. With generative AI, it's actually much, much easier to do things like figure out how to call an API. Matter of fact, we request that people use AI-assisted coding. Don't try to figure it out on your own. Describe what the problem is, maybe give examples of the code that you're trying to code against. Copy and paste all the documentation if the model doesn't know about the particular API, then have it code with you. It is your coding partner. You are hereby augmented. Everyone who's on the call now has pretty moderate experience with Python, even if you've never coded Python before. Why? Now you have a coding buddy. So this is totally different than it was even a year ago, where it'd say, we really are looking for 1 or even 2 years of experience with Python for some of this stuff. Now, no, it's different now. Some coding experience is important, so you'll know what's going on. But no, you don't need to know about APIs. You can learn that as you're coding. Am I overstating that, Charo?
It could depend on the project.
Okay.
But I'm pretty much completely on board for every project. Every now and then, we do need some pretty up there kind of coders,
Yep.
but maybe not this
Good
semester.
mix.
Another suggestion about APIs is that, okay, so sometimes when you are trying to learn how to do something, like if you've heard of pandas or matplotlib or transformers or anything like that, sometimes you go through the tutorials and they tell you about like 5 functions or like 5 different data types. And there are a vast expanse of different possibilities in these APIs, so many. And so if you want to gain more experience with that, I would suggest walk yourself through some of the tutorials that are available online, and then try to augment your understanding and use other methods that are in those libraries. And so that's essentially what that is trying to get at. When the application says that, it's trying to say, like, if you ever come upon a situation where generative AI is maybe not meeting your needs, can you go and look at the documentation and figure out how to use that function or that class or what have you? Like, that's what it's really about.
Excellent. What other questions do you all have about being on a team, the different roles, or about any of the project specifics? Ooh, great question. Sharo, you want to take this one?
This is a really great question. Okay. So generally, okay, so number one, something that I will say is a 3-credit-hour course. So consider like your courses that are 3 credit hours and the amount of work that you put into those. A 3-credit-hour course means 9 hours of total work. And when you're thinking about what you're doing in your lecture classes, kind of mentally transfer that into if you were to be working on a project. So we do like it when people dedicate a lot of effort to the projects. Something about these projects in particular is that there is this balance between like experience and time spent. So if you're just like this master programmer and you use GitHub Copilot and you're just like tap, 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 and like it's like perfect, then of course, like you would not be spending as much time on the actual creation of something. But if you are maybe more moderate or learning how to use generative AI for coding for these solutions, then you would expect to spend a little bit more time. But we like to see the availability there. We do weigh that alongside the other kind of things that you put in your application, but we will generally prefer people who are able and believe that they can commit more time.
And there are some projects that just require more time as well. So absolutely. Great questions. All right. Any additional questions?
I have a question. Like for project manager, do they like also require like 9 hours for each week to that project or?
Good point. Not really. Well, we have one project that has required that much time. So free speech was a project where the project
Yeah, I was gonna say.
a ton of time.
That was
But
probably
we
more.
also had like international collaborators on this, right? Most of the time, that looks more like 4 hours. You know, it's really around that. Generally, I think for all of these projects, this would be more like 4 hours for the project manager.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
And something else I wanted to just quickly say is that we, or at least I, and probably everyone else agrees, but I love it when people really take ownership of what they are working on and their role. Speaking of that particular project, like that person that was a project manager really just, I mean, he dove in there and he was like, yeah, this project is going to be managed by me. And it was like, it relieved so much stress because there was such clear direction and like authority in terms of like who needs to do what when and how we can understand the structure of our meetings. And so I really would love any project managers that really like, you want to put your foot down or you really love like organization. Like I would really love if you just really take ownership and, just really experience the opportunity.
Yeah.
We have another question here. It says, can a project manager also be involved as a code contributor?
That's hard. It's actually hard to do, not for technical reasons, but for sort of soft reasons, right? The project manager is someone who's watching everything that's happening, making sure that work is happening, is moving across the board, and has to hold other people to account. For that person to also be on the board and to be trying to hold themselves to account as well is hard. It's hard to maintain your authority when you're doing that. And it's hard just technically to try to do both because the time is additive. It's not like 4 hours plus just some other. No, it's 4 hours plus the 9, right? So it's a ton of time, and it doesn't work as well when you're both on the team and trying to manage the team at the same time. It's a tricky, tricky thing. I've tried to do it before in my professional career. It's not a great fit. But that's what, we do this every semester, right? So you do project manager one semester, come back and do another role another semester. These are great questions. Other questions? Well, all right. We'll be getting these emails out with the forms so you can begin to fill them out. Feel free to email if you have additional questions. And actually what I'll do is I'll hang around here for a little bit more after the close of this meeting in case you had questions you didn't want to ask in front of everybody. But thank you all very much for your time. Team, thank you for your time. I love the description of all the projects. I wish I could join all the projects, but this is not a good idea and I can't. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for your questions. Do stick around if you have questions that you wanted to ask, but just not in front of everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
When we apply, do we apply the same position across all projects, or do we get to choose which project with which positions?
You can indicate. Boy, that gets hard. So you're saying different projects for different roles for different projects?
I'm just asking, is there a flexibility on that, or is it kind of
Yeah.
fixed, or just
Yeah,
on the form structure that if I indicate interest in, I don't know, let's say code contributor, that would apply to any project that I indicate my interest in?
You might have to explain a little bit. So we've had these sort of applications before where it's like, well, I'm interested in project manager of this, but code, contributor on this one. So we'd probably have to just reach out and talk to you one-on-one to figure out what this actually is. The
Okay.
form, it's a little bit hard to sort of disambiguate what that is because it's not a standard thing. But yeah, come and talk to us because we can give you a really good sense of what it would look like and what your interest might be.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other outstanding questions? Absolutely. Thank you. So Miguel, maybe if you could take a moment and email me the everyone who registered for this session, we will email out this form to them.
Sounds good. Will do.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Any questions from remaining folks? All right. Have a good evening, everybody. See you.